Tonight I'm joined by Sky News Political Editor Andrew Clennell. Andrew, we'll start with some news you broke this afternoon, an exclusive story about the New South Wales Liberal Party being in danger of another federal election defeat. What's going on?
Well, Peter, it's just taking too long to get a preselection done for Robertson on the Central Coast. One of the key targets for Peter Dutton as we come up to this election. They still haven't come up with a preselection date. We saw the federal takeover of the party, but party sources mystified as to why this process isn't being fast-tracked. They need someone in the field. Gordon Reid, the Labor candidate's been door-knocking there for 3 years. And the other mysterious thing is they're looking at running Lucy Wicks again. And obviously she failed last time and lost the seat. It's only a 2.3% margin. That, together with the fact that they haven't got a candidate yet for McKellar against Sophie Scomps, it's got a feeling of deja vu about it because, of course, there was that infighting in the factions at the last election, which saw people only pre-selected sort of a matter of a couple of weeks out, a few weeks out from when the election was called. So you'd hope they get on with those pre-selection processes and get organised. Peter Dutton, it's gotten a hard enough mountain to climb as it is without these sort of shenanigans.
You're not wrong. I mean, back in 2010, when Tony Abbott was up against Julia Gillard, in that election, they pre-selected, I think it was 5 seats in New South Wales on the day the election was called. Now, Abbott and Gillard were a tie. He lost the negotiation. She got the Greens and others over the line. But if he'd won 1 extra seat out of New South Wales, well, history would have been changed. And I think that's what's playing on Dutton's mind. I've got no doubt.
Absolutely. I mean, this sort of stuff is just, you know, it's basics and it's critical. And the Labor Party just does it better. They're just better organised. And I mean, there's criticism of this at times, but when it's an urgent matter, they throw democracy out of the window and they run the leader's candidate. And we've seen some pre-selections in recent times where Peter Dutton's candidate hasn't got up. And I think that's probably a bad thing.
All right, we played a grab before of Peter Dutton saying that Lydia Thorpe should think about her future after those comments aimed at the King yesterday. Now, he's not the only one. Nova Peris, Narsha Langton, a whole lot of other Indigenous elders, they've rebuked her stunt. But today, Thorpe told the ABC she's not going anywhere.
I will be there for another 3 years, everybody. So, you know, get used to truth-telling. My approach, unfortunately, might upset a few people. But how else do you get your message across?
Yeah, I called her a shrew last night. Some in the British media have called her a moron. I don't think that's too tough either. This is about the fact to me that she's no longer a Green, of course, Andrew. So she needs stunts and infamy in order to hold a spot in the Senate. That's what's driving this.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So the more attention you get, the more of a chance as an independent you'll get a vote. And it is hard for independents to get re-elected. You look at people like Rex Patrick who've fall by the wayside after 1 term. And there's always the argument if you run for a party and get elected with them that you should relinquish your Senate spot because it doesn't cause a by-election once you've left that party. Obviously, she and Fatima Payman are in that category, and there have been many others. Look, Lydia Thorpe's behaviour is pretty outlandish. I can tell you that last sitting week that we had in Canberra, I was told she was wandering through the corridors past Aussie's Cafe, etc., yelling out freedom of Palestine to no one in particular. So this pretty much goes with her kind of conduct. Now, of course, if you're in the chamber, you just get punted, you get kicked out. There is an orderly process there. Here, the King apparently couldn't hear her even, or what she was saying, just saw someone shouting.
Thank
and that was the case for
Albanese
and Dutton on stage as well. So, yeah, I mean, she was thrown out, but it's been put to me tonight, actually, that basically this will mean that in future she's just not invited to things.
Fair enough.
Prime Minister and Cabinet were in charge of the invites there. I think she'll be getting a lot less.
Right, you revealed over the weekend that Labor will not be taking any tax reforms to the next election, despite all that speculation about capital gains discount reform and negative gearing. There was a poll in the Financial Review today that said voters are happy enough with the status quo. Young Australians in particular fear changes could force up rent prices, put home ownership further out of reach. Now, you say they're not going to have a tax reform agenda at the next election. Do we believe them?
All right, well, I've been told in no uncertain terms, no tax reform agenda. Those are the terms used to me. No CGT change on property. no negative gearing, not even the taxing on trust, which is always one which I reckon would be a little less controversial because it affects less people. If it was up to Jim Chalmers, I think it'd be totally different. But that is Albanese's stance, I can tell you that right now.
I want to get this one in before we go. Election timing, you know, like it's a mug's game, I know, but we're due to have the 2035 announcement on the emissions targets in February. It's legislated. We know that there was a letter from Chris Bowen to the head of the then Climate Authority, Grant King, that says, I want all of this analysis from you and your advice about what this target should be on my desk on the 1st of October. That's 3 weeks ago. There's a lot of speculation that the new target, of course, will hit agriculture, so it'll be much tougher. Our power prices will be much higher. There's a lot of concern about what this would do in an election setting. We know when they do their March budget, it'll be deficits as far as the eye can see. We know Bill Shorten is doing his valedictory, and others are, before the Parliament rises for Christmas. I'm pretty convinced now they'll call it sometime around Australia Day that Parliament will not return next year because they don't want to tell us what this new target could be.
Well, I think Sunday Agenda resumes next year on Australia Day, so that'd be handy, Peter. But no, I'm not so sure. I am actually not so sure. I think it's an option, but I think they'd wait to see what the Reserve Bank do in February, and that'd be the only way it's an option. I think they're still favouring May with March a possibility. So I'm covering myself here. You could be proved to be correct, but I think that's their plan at the moment is May. We'll see soon enough.
Now, there's games afoot, I reckon, Andrew Clennell. I'll see you on Saturday night here on this desk for the Queensland state election. All right.